In order to close these leg seams on our swimsuit, we're going to essentially be creating a burrito roll with our leg openings. So right now I have my bodices sewn at the side seams and sewn at the neckline. My main is sewn to my main at the side seam, and my lining is sewn to my lining at the side seam. They are not attached there. We're going to open our bottom like this so that I have my front crotch on this side, my back crotch on this side, and I have a leg opening here and a leg opening here. I'm going to separate on this side here, flipping this side up like this. So I have my main back crotch, wrong side up, my lining back crotch, wrong side up. Same with my front, main and lining, wrong side up. I'm just going to take this and flip it over like this. And I'm just going to take the rest of my bodysuit and just kind of roll it into the middle here. Now, that crotch seam over here that we had flipped and opened up, I'm going to bring over to align the side seams, and then I will pin. And I will follow that along the leg opening to the crotch seam. And this first seam is going to be the easiest to sew because we're still going to have an opening over here. And then I will continue that along this side here. Just like this. Now I'm going to sew along this leg opening here, making sure not to catch any of this fabric inside. So now I have that leg seam sewn together. I'm just going to reach inside here and pull everything right side out. So now you can see on this side, we have a fully enclosed leg opening, and I will press that after I finish enclosing the second leg opening. So now we need to close this side. So I'm going to do the same thing and fold the bodice this way so that I have my two leg openings right here. And I'm just going to separate. This is the original leg opening that we enclosed. I'm just going to separate that seam there, this seam here. So just to orient you, this is my back crotch on this side. This is my front crotch on this side. So I'm just going to flip this over like this. So here's my open crotch seam down here. Here are my shoulder seams. I'm just going to start up there and roll. So again, I'm going to pin along this seam here, and then I will sew along this leg opening, leaving both crotch seams open at the ends so that I can turn it right side out. So I will pin this, go sew it, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I have sewn this leg seam here. So at this point, I'm going to open up my front crotch again, and I will find the bulk of my fabric and just start pulling gently and maneuvering it out through the crotch opening so that we can turn this right side out. So now we have our bodysuit turned right side out. I'm going to press my leg openings so that the seam is nice and flat. And then I will be back to show you how to complete the snap placket. To create the snap placket, I did a very simple fold up and sew method. And in order to stabilize the fabric for the snaps, first we have to add some interfacing. So I like to use heat and bond interfacing. It comes in a big sheet like this that you can cut to size. You can also use twill tape if you prefer, or a piece of woven fabric. But I have my interfacing here. I'm just going to center it right along the bottom raw edge, and then I will press. And I'm going to repeat that. So now that I have those adhered onto the raw edge of my crotch here, I'm going to grab my seam gauge and measure 3/4 of an inch. And I'm just going to take my snap placket and then fold it up along that 3/4 marking. And again, I'm just going to measure. And then I will press. And I will repeat that process with the front placket as well. Now, if you want to, you can finish this edge first with a serger or a zigzag stitch, but I like to stitch over with my cover stitch, so that will enclose this edge. You can also finish this with a zigzag stitch when you're sewing straight across, and that will also enclose that edge. Knit fabric does not fray, so you don't have to worry about it coming unraveled, but if you want a more professional look, you can choose to do that instead. And I just like to let that sit with my clapper on top. The wood absorbs that steam and helps to make your fabric stay nice and crisp. And you get nicely pressed seams just like this. So now I'm going to take this over to my cover stitch machine, and I will be sewing from the right side of my fabric, a line straight across this edge right here. And again, because I'm using a cover stitch, it's going to enclose this edge on the wrong side. However, if I were to use a zigzag stitch, it would also enclose that edge if you are sewing directly over this edge, where one stitch would be on this side, one stitch would be on this side to enclose this edge between. So I have finished the edge of my placket with my cover stitch machine. This is the right side, and this is the wrong side, where you can see that my raw edge is enclosed in that seam. So now I'm going to add 2 snaps here and 2 snaps on the opposite side so that I can close my bodysuit.